On this edition of Good Day DePaul, Chicagoans come together to show support for Ukraine.
The Trump administration makes major cuts to healthcare.
And the baseball season is coming soon. That means new hope for the Chicago Cubs. I'm Nathan Wiegraff.
And I'm Vivian Matson, and this is Good Day DePaul.
It was one of the ugliest scenes anyone can remember at the White House. President Trump and Vice President Vance berating Ukrainian President Zelensky. It was especially difficult to see for many of the Ukrainians in Chicago. Just days before that, some of them were at a rally in Chicago. Good Day DePaul's Bing Wong was there.
Слава Україні! Слава Україні!
The crowd says glory to Ukraine. Some 300 people rallied in front of Chicago's Wrigley Building to stand in solidarity with Ukraine. It's been 3 years since Russian forces invaded Ukraine on February 24, 2022. It has cost hundreds of thousands of lives. Maria Dmitriev-Kapeniak, president of the Ukrainian Congress Committee of America Illinois Division, called for an end to the war.
So we're also protesting and calling for everyone to stand with Ukraine and to stand for the democracy, not just for Ukrainian, but the United States as well.
Since the start of the war, the U.S. has helped Ukraine through military assistance, but President Trump has questioned that support.
Well, I'm not going to make security guarantees beyond very much. We're going to have Europe do that because it's in, we're talking about Europe as the next door neighbor.
Trump also called Ukraine's president, Volodymyr Zelensky, a dictator for suspending elections. Dmitry Kapeniak disagrees with both of these allegations.
Ukraine did not invade Russia. Ukraine did not start the war. It was Russia that started the war. Ukrainian president was democratically elected, and we don't have elections because of the martial law, and because Russia invaded Ukraine. That is why we have a martial law.
Democratic U.S. representative from Illinois, Mike Quigley, who has been a strong supporter of Ukraine, also disagrees.
Putin was the aggressor. Putin committed war crimes. I stood on the mass graves in Bucha. I've been in previously occupied territories, hear firsthand the atrocities. So Trump would like to change history so it's more convenient for him to betray the Ukrainian trust, or we're not going to let that happen.
The congressman also says U.S. support for Ukraine is bipartisan, and Democrats and Republicans are working together to keep helping Ukraine. For Good Day DePaul, Bing Wong.
The Trump administration is severely cutting the Department of Health and Human Services. Good Day DePaul's Aaron Gessert reports on how these job cuts may impact public health agencies in the U.S.
Thousands of workers across federal health agencies have lost their jobs amid mass firings throughout the government.
We have researchers out here! We have healthcare workers out here!
The cuts are coming from the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, headed by billionaire Elon Musk.
Waste is pretty much everywhere. People ask, how can you find waste in DC? I'm like, look, it's like being in a room, and this target, the wall, the roofs, and the floor are all targets. So it's like you're gonna close your eyes and go shoot in any direction. you can't miss.
Dr. Jessica Polos, a public health professor at DePaul University, says these firings will make it harder for agencies to work efficiently and protect public health.
When there's fewer people to do work, right, there's going to be more delays and maybe cancellations of any of these practices. There's less data analysis, there's less collection of data, less coordination of response. And so this is in general going to put more people at risk.
The cuts are hitting agencies like the Food and Drug Administration, FDA, which ensures products like food and medicine are safe to use. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, which monitors health outcomes in response to public health crises like COVID-19, and for those who review and manage research grants at the National Institutes of Health, NIH.
At NIH, the cuts mean that important research into public health is going to be facing setbacks, and there's going to be fewer medical advances to deal with communicable diseases as well as chronic diseases.
For those entering the medical industry, like Jaylon Jones, finding a job amid mass firings in healthcare isn't the main concern. His focus is on patient care.
I'm more concerned less about job outlook than I am about the patients who stand to suffer the most.
Jones is a first-year medical student at the University of Illinois, Chicago. He feels that these firings will harm more vulnerable patients, those who have been longing for a cure.
Sometimes you have people who have diseases that can't be cured, and they often go to their physician and they're pleading with them, is there anything else that you could possibly do? And that anything else is research funding, it is clinical trials. It's all these things that are the last-ditch effort when patients truly have no hope.
The exact number of employees fired is not fully clear. NPR reported that between 1,000 and 1,200 NIH employees and 750 CDC employees were let go. The Department of Health and Human Services, which oversees these agencies and is headed by Robert F. Kennedy Jr., expected to fire over 5,000 employees, the Associated Press reported. On Friday, a judge extended an order barring the Trump administration from cutting NIH research funding. However, the day before, a Washington judge ruled that the mass firings can continue. For Good Day DePaul, I'm Erin Gessert.
The DePaul Law School recently hosted an international legal scholar, and as I found out, his message has special relevance today. A former president of the International Criminal Court, Judge Chile Ibo Osuji, visited the DePaul Law School to talk about his new book. The title, End of Immunity, some say is too optimistic. International Human Rights Law Institute Executive Director and practicing attorney Elizabeth Ward says this about the long history of international criminal law described in the book.
This basic and fundamental concept that we have long taken for granted is under attack right now by many countries, including our own. And so I think one takeaway for people that maybe not be familiar with the field of international criminal law is that although the ICC is new, that this is not a new concept in the law.
Founded in 2002 by a treaty called the Rome Statute, the International Criminal Court, or ICC, tries individuals for crimes called the Big Four: genocide, war crimes, crimes against humanity, and the crime of aggression. Most recently, the court has convicted Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Russian President Vladimir Putin.
We are seeing politics intervene, and we are seeing those individuals traveling to some state parties to the Rome Statute, and those state parties refusing to comply with the arrest warrant.
Judge Ibo Osuji says mutual assistance from countries that are part of the ICC is necessary to fully prosecute individuals under international criminal law.
All along, humanity has been suffering all these deprivations, all these privations, all these atrocities, all through the ages. And states were not living up to their primary obligation to hold accountable those who commit those transgressions. The system will not take care of itself. The system is not in a position to take care of itself.
President Trump recently signed an executive order to sanction the ICC, vowing that the U.S. would oppose any actions taken against the U.S. or its allies.
And so the United States attacking the International Criminal Court is something that will negatively impact broadly international law, and more specifically international criminal law, which means holding individuals accountable for some of the most atrocious crimes committed by humans against other humans.
As Trump aligns himself with Putin, who is charged in 2023 for unlawful deportation of Ukrainian children, human rights advocates like the International Human Rights Law Institute are doing everything they can to uphold the precedent of international criminal law. For Good Day DePaul, I'm Vivian Manson.
DePaul's Gaming Center on the Loop campus finally reopened in January after several months of renovations. I stopped in to find out just what's changed and what it means for the future of DePaul esports.
The DePaul Esports Center is once again open after a recent expansion.
The gaming center is located in the lower level of the DePaul Center on the Loop campus. It includes personal computers, PS4s, PS5s, GameCubes, and Nintendo Switches, and is intended to both entertain and educate students interested in competitive gaming.
It definitely makes me like feel happy. It's a little bit like a place to just like kind of unwind for a minute, when like especially when I'm going from like stressful classes. But it's got a relaxing vibe.
According to the director of student involvement, Courtney James, the center helps students make friends and build community outside of class.
48% of our students who are involved in esports and gaming aren't doing anything else on campus. So this is a really important part of the student experience at DePaul, which is why it ended up in my wheelhouse.
Many students at the Esports Center feel it's a one-of-a-kind space that appeals to Gen Z interests and initiates conversation and collaboration between peers.
Everyone's always like really friendly. People want to get to know each other, because like gaming in and of itself is like a community-based action, right? So like if you aren't talking with one another and you aren't like communicating effectively with people, you kind of don't get the full experience of being inside the gaming center.
It's really nice. It's like the first time I've ever seen that a college has an esports center, and I really enjoyed here. Every Tuesday I come here, and most importantly, I have been researching for, writing video games, and I think it's a really nice exposure for them.
The DePaul Esports Center is currently open to enrolled students, faculty, and staff, and is available for both individual and group reservations. To make those reservations, go to the DePaul website, where you'll also see the Esports Center calendar and code of conduct. To enter the center, just swipe your DePaul ID when you get there. For Good Day DePaul, I'm Nathan Wiegraff.
Next on Good Day DePaul, new hope for Chicago Cubs fans at DePaul.
That story and more when we come back.
2004 Skateboard Championship.
High school, moped.
How about you, Slim? Anything?
Something.
Looks like Slim's got a little paper cut.
It's nothing.
Come on, man. No, I'm gonna make you tell me.
Hey, kidney transplant.
When, dude? I didn't know you were sick.
I was donating it.
Someone in your family?
You gave your kidney to a complete stranger?
Yeah, saved his life.
Wow. All right. Everyone can save a life by being a living organ donor on matchingdonors.com.
Baseball spring training is now officially underway, and that means Chicago Cubs fans are again cautiously optimistic. Good Day DePaul's Marie Kane talked to some of these fans to find out what they hope to see this season.
Wrigley Field, home of the Chicago Cubs, sits waiting for its team to return and for baseball to come back to the city of Chicago. The Cubs have had a rocky past as an organization, including the infamous 108-year drought between their World Series win in 1908 and the one in 2016, even earning themselves the nickname Lovable Losers during this time. Despite the ups and downs seen by this organization, their fans have remained some of the most dedicated in the league. Nick Palazzolo is a lifelong diehard Cubs fan, and baseball holds a special place in his heart.
My fandom probably affects me more than it should, because I won't watch 162 games, but I'll probably watch somewhere between 145 and 155 games.
2016 is a year that will go down in infamy for all Cubs fans, as the year they ended the drought and finally won a World Series.
And it was just fun because I remembered like that postseason run. I didn't miss a single game, a single pitch. I don't care what birthday party it was. I don't care what family engagement. I was like, if the Cubs game is on, I will be there. Don't expect me to interact with anybody, or I'm just going to stay home and watch it.
Since then, however, the Cubs have yet to have anywhere near that kind of success, losing early in the playoffs or not making them at all. As the players of the 2016 team left one by one, this season is the first since 2016 where no players from that roster are with the Cubs. Despite this, the Cubs have still made moves to better the team, including hiring Craig Counsell as their manager before last season. They signed him to a 5-year, $40 million contract, making him the highest paid manager in MLB history. This year, they have acquired some new pieces, and expectations for the Cubs season are growing amongst fans.
I think we play the Dodgers in the LCS. Hopefully we get there, but I think that winning the division is a must. We're the best team in the division. And as long as, I'm dying for some playoff baseball from the Cubs again.
Not only are expectations amongst fans growing, but expectations from media members and analytics as well. However, with 162 games to play, there are a world of possibilities in front of them. But one thing is for certain, Cubs fans are as dedicated as ever and are counting down the days until they can return to the friendly confines.
The Cubs return back here to Wrigley Field on April 4th for their home opener against the San Diego Padres, where the highly anticipated season will begin. For Good Day DePaul, I'm Marie Kane.
In sports, DePaul finished first in 4 events at the Big East Track and Field Championships. Demetrius Roll won the men's 60 meters. Darius Brown took first in the men's 60-meter hurdles. Jaden Gary won the men's shot put, and Sade Miller was first in the women's 60 meters.
In men's basketball, DePaul has lost 6 in a row, with their latest loss coming against Creighton.
The DePaul women's basketball team broke a 4-game losing streak, beating St. John's 65-64.
In men's tennis, DePaul won 4 in a row before losing to Buffalo. They're now 8-6 on the season.
And the DePaul women's tennis team is on a 3-game winning streak after their win over Cornell.
In softball, DePaul beat Mount St. Mary's 10-1. The Blue Demons are now 10-8 on the season.
Coming up, it's called Cyber Defense, and DePaul leads the way in a recent competition.
Stay with us.
The flu is unpredictable and can be serious. Who needs to be vaccinated against the flu? You. Get a flu vaccine. For more information, www.flu.gov.
Cyber defense. It's protecting networks, systems, and data from cyber attacks. And at CDM, a group called the Security Demons recently took first place in the Illinois Collegiate Cyber Defense Competition. Later this month, they'll take part in the Midwest Regional Competition.
That's all for this week's edition of Good Day DePaul. You can keep up with us by visiting our Vimeo channel at Good Day DePaul or by going to goodday.depaul.edu.
And be sure to check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.
And if you have any news tips, message us through the Good Day DePaul social media channels.
Thanks for watching. For Good Day DePaul, I'm Vivian Matson.
And I'm Nathan Wiegraff. Have a good day, DePaul.